Ooh, ooh, ooh. There's only one of you, so tell us your story like only you do. We're on the same team of dreamers, a happy, scrappy group of believers. So come, play a part. There's room for mistakes and messes and art. Who cares if there's not many takers? We're doing it for the makers.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the For the Makers podcast. I am so pumped about this interview today.
Me too.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
You guys, I just want to quickly introduce myself. I feel like it's weird introducing ourselves every single time, but necessary.
I think it feels weird to us because we record these like back to back to back, and we're like, I've introduced myself like 5 times today. But when you consider that we're releasing these on the 2nd and 4th week Fridays of the month,
Because why?
you clap on the
2 and the 4,
not on the
1 and the 3. I was expecting you to
like,
say it.
It kind of sounded like I was gonna say it.
Yeah.
But it's always good to, give a little reintroduction.
Yeah, exactly. So for the reintroduction, hi, everybody. My name is Leah Beth Etheridge. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with the one and only
Rachel Gifford, your other host.
What's up, girl?
Hey, girl. How you doing?
Good. Dude, that intro slaps every single time. I'm still shocked that you wrote, produced, sang, did all the things for that.
I still keep saying I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna turn it into a full song, and it hasn't happened yet. And part of me feels like I'm gonna get to that point where I'm sitting at my piano, and I do have I have a first verse for it. That's how I got my in for this intro. But I feel like the drums in and the drums out is set, so I'm how am I gonna write the rest of the song? That's it, my work here is done.
You guys just look out for the full version of that song.
I'll do it eventually. Maybe season 16 or something like that.
Whoa,
that's a long time from now.
Season 16.
Yeah. Okay, should we jump on into this?
Yeah, we should. Rach, would you like to introduce our incredible guest that we have today?
I absolutely would. You guys, I'm going to do a little cold read of this bio, and let me tell you, it is action-packed.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. Our guest on the podcast today is none other than John Reid. Born in Houston, Texas, John relocated to Melbourne, Australia in 2004 and studied all facets of dance, singing, and acting. Graduated from the Federation University of the Arts Academy in 2015 with a Bachelor of Arts in Musical Theatre. His Australian theatre credits include Funny Girl, Merrily We Roll Along, Jesus Christ Superstar, songs for Swingin Lovers, and action/riff understudy in West Side Story on Sydney Harbour. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Sorry, I just read that and I was like, hold on. That's cool. John is an inaugural member of the Melbourne Shakespeare Company, having performed in their productions of A Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, Romeo and Juliet, and King Lear. Okay. Also, those are the best freaking Shakespeare plays. Okay. Here we go. As a choreographer, yes, he does more.
Yes.
As a choreographer, credits include Black Rock, Love's Labour's Lost, The Taming of the Shrew, As You Like It, The Winter's Tale, also and The Comedy of Errors, also all the best Shakespeare.
Yeah.
John has also been teaching since the age of 19, lives in New York City, and made his U.S. theater debut in Guys and Dolls and Something Rotten. Oh my gosh, John, you've done all the best shows.
Yeah, really.
Where he both served as dance captain. John Reid, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh
so
my
excited
gosh.
to be here.
We're really excited to have you. I'm just thinking your U.S. theater debut was Guys and Dolls and Something Rotten. Those are 2 of the most fun.
Yeah, they were really fun
shows.
Yeah.
What did you do? Were you ensemble in Something Rotten?
Yeah, I was.
Because that's
ensemble
my
and dance captain. Yeah.
favorite. Oh, that's right. It literally said that.
Yeah,
dance captain in your bio. Favorite dance ensemble show.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
The It's Eggs number gets me
the best.
every time.
What's so funny though is that I always loved the scene that led up right before It's Eggs, because that was then when they're just essentially saying every musical theater reference under the stars in Shakespeare dialogue.
Right.
And we would do, you know, like, where's McCavity at the Jellicle Ball? He would not come.
Yes.
And like, you know, I could have danced all night. Like it was that was always my favorite because the audience would always laugh probably the most in those.
Yes.
In that scene. That was always my favorite.
I feel like as somebody who has done a lot of Shakespeare, Something Rotten is like the marriage of like the best two things ever.
I couldn't stay away from it.
Oh yeah, no,
I couldn't stay away from Shakespeare. I was just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It was the best of both worlds. It was you know, Shakespeare and musical theater, which, you know, but that's, I mean, how many times though is that they go hand in hand so well.
Exactly.
Right.
Every best musical ever was, you know, written after a Shakespeare play.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
in some way or the other. But
exactly.
It was it's really fun. Yeah, it's been wild.
Oh, that's crazy.
Okay, I feel like we should. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was just going to marvel at his credits because I'm like kind of shook a little bit. Like Rach was saying, oh, those are all the best Shakespeares, or like your resume, you have gotten to dive into some just incredible pieces of art.
I'm very lucky, actually. I was thinking about this as well, is that, you know, sometimes a lot of the time with what we do, we're just trying to get work and make a living. And so you take everything, right? You got to do so many gigs that, you know, it has sometimes less to be desired material, but you do it because it's a good paycheck or good for the resume, or you're working, you're just on stage.
Right.
But like, I've been very lucky in that most of the shows that I've been able to do have been all great material. Yeah. And I feel like it's hard at our level to be able to like really sometimes appreciate that, because again, it's a bit of a luxury really, because we can't be that choosy. But I mean, every actor though you hear will always talk about it's all about the material. Yeah. It's all about the written word or the music. Mm-hmm. And if it's well done or not. And I'm very lucky that I've been able to work on really great writing. Yeah. Which only makes you better too.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
You got to work on the best stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to make you better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you noticed a significant difference in just like the theater or arts dance worlds from Australia and the US?
That's very interesting. Especially because I've been, even in living in Australia, I had been coming to America, visiting family here, and then also going, so I've been to New York a number of times, and I would always go see shows here. And I always thought, you know, that, you know, Broadway is like, you know, the pinnacle and everybody else is kind of secondary. I do think sometimes though that the industries can like focus on different things.
Totally.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the Australian industry just is just so small.
Yeah.
You know, I always joke is like Australia has the geographical landmass of the US, but the population of Texas.
Totally.
It's really small.
Yeah.
But which therefore means that the Australian industry is small.
So small, yeah.
So we don't get just the quantity of different shows, i.e. different material that you'd be able to bring out there, because when you only got 5 theaters in Melbourne, 4 in Sydney, or maybe 5 in Sydney, you know, 1 in Brisbane, like you need to, in a way, sort of do the more commercial option. I mean, those are usually for the Broadway or West End productions that come out, but they're usually, I feel like in recent years, the Australian industry, particularly after COVID, has been playing it very safe by just bringing back shows that everybody knows, that we've seen 5 times, and while there is merit to that, and some of them are quality shows that are worth showing again, you know, you can't bring new work that is sort of happening because it's just too risky. Sure. So here I would say that at least in terms of just the material, the diversity of material here in New York, I just think is second to none in the world. Yeah. Because there's just so much of it. Right. And that is also, you know, why I love New York and why I wanted to come here, is just because I was able to just be among so much theater, and by therefore, you know, so much material and so much new material. Yeah. Because also in terms of just making Australian theater, like writing it, and that's even harder and even more rare. Right. And because there are a lot of talented people, but I just don't think they get the opportunities enough to practice.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think which is different here, because when you're developing shows here or you're making stuff here, you have the luxury of time.
Right.
You can take, you can do 5 workshops or readings and work on shows over a number of years and be like, no, we'll get there.
Right.
Because you just it just takes what it takes.
Yeah.
I feel like because of just the lack of opportunity, the lack of space, and also the lack of people to invest in it.
Yeah.
There seems to be like, we only got one shot to do it.
Wow.
So you get all these great shows that have great potential to get up, but it's the first draft.
Right.
And then they do a full production, but it's a first draft.
Right.
And then we never hear from it again.
Right.
Because it didn't do well.
Right.
But of course it didn't do well because it was a first draft.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
I just think everything is just baked here.
Yeah.
Over longer, I think. You know what I mean? People can sit in it more in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also because of the fact that there's so much work, in sometimes, a good and a bad way, but mostly a good way, is that people treat the arts like their job here.
Yeah.
They wake up, they say goodbye to their family, they go to work, they do their show, they come home.
Right.
Because it's just so normal. Whereas in Australia, because it's so rare to just get a show.
Yeah.
And we feel like it's almost like, it's like not a job. It's like this crazy, blip of an adventure that we can't, we can't take anything for granted, which is a great feeling to have. And that's why Australians are, I think, such hard workers when it comes to that, because we know what a rare opportunity it is. But it's also then very hard for us to be like, to even see ourselves as being like, this is our job.
Right.
Because just of how
infrequently it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's so interesting. Especially because I think in my naivety, I think about like the world of theater being very split, I feel like, between the US and London, because those are the two kind of like theater meccas.
Absolutely.
So
well, that's where it was. I mean, the English had Shakespeare,
right?
Which means they had the love of language,
right?
And just really good storytelling,
right?
And then Americans had the musical,
right?
And like song and dance,
yeah.
So, but those were big. But that's because they were both developed and created there. Like it's in their DNA. It's in the cobblestones.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
And
America is also not a super old country, but Australia is even younger.
Yeah.
And while Australia does have an abundance of culture there, particularly I think when it comes to its like fine arts and its music,
still
we didn't invent theater. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sort of like it is a little bit of a removal, but there are a lot of freaking incredible Australian actors and performers, and a lot of them live here.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
There are so many Aussies in New York, which has been also kind of really amazing to kind of come to sort of find that like second quasi community. But I feel like there was also a thing too of it being like there are so many incredible actors and talented performers there, but there wasn't an industry for them there, so they had to leave.
Yeah,
they had to go to London. They had to go to New York.
Right.
I mean, even Kate Blanchett and Hugh Jackman couldn't stay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? They had to get, or Margot Robbie, they had to get their opportunities elsewhere. Unfortunately, because I'm sure we all love Australia, and it is an incredible country, and I'm so in hindsight, I'll probably talk about it later in terms of moving there, but I was so grateful to have grown up there, but it was just very hard to make a living as an actor.
Right.
Yeah. Well, on that note, this might jump right into it, but how did you get into the arts?
Okay, so this is I'm gonna give you like a little bit of context just so it all makes sense, because my story is kind of wacky.
I love it.
So I'm born in Texas, and I grew up in a really small country town about an hour and a half outside of Houston.
Yeah.
It was a rice farming town, a town of 3,400 people.
Yeah.
One traffic light.
Yep.
And also preface this, we were the only Jewish family in the town.
Wow. Yeah.
So if that doesn't make you into an artist, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Really.
In terms of being an outsider and everything like that. But what my mom was a drama teacher, and she because she's Australian.
Yeah.
My mom's Australian, dad's American. They met, and then when they married, she moved to Texas, and she was in this farming town, teaching English at the local high school, but, needed something to do.
Yeah.
So she started a children's theater.
Oh,
Wow.
cool.
And it was like every Sunday, and from ages 5 to 15.
Okay.
And, we'd go there, we'd do drama games, and then we'd put on musicals. That she would usually sort of like write or kind of, doctor the scripts to make it more, kid friendly, and then, have different sort of things like that. But she started doing that, I think actually even before I was born. And then obviously she started taking me to rehearsals. And then I got on stage for the first time in that theater, children's theater in Oliver.
Yes. Come on.
Which, it's either Oliver or Annie.
Literally, I was about to say.
Those are either literally the way in.
So true.
Yeah.
But even before that, because I would see her also prepping for these shows when I was like, 3.5 or 4, she would have these movie musicals on. So we were also watching,
Right.
Beauty and the Beast and The Wizard of Oz and Oliver and Peter Pan and like all of these incredible musicals that because she was playing them over and over again, I would then also ask to watch them over and over again.
Right.
So, I mean, I probably could see a direct correlation between like me, like wanting to starting to dance and seeing Ray Bolger in The Scarecrow as the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wore that out. And then, and then there was, The Lion King, and then there was, Oliver, and then there's all these movie musicals. And then she started taking me to the theater. And I was, we'd go into Houston to see shows. And then I started doing summer camps at a place called Theater Under the Stars.
Yeah.
You know that
Yeah,
theater?
I do. Yeah.
So they had this place called the Humphrey School for the Performing Arts, where it was like a normal kind of after-school program, but then every summer you'd do these, week-long camps and stuff like that. And so I started doing those, I think, when I was like 6 or 7.
Nice.
And apparently, according to Mom, she said that after the first week, after the last like performance of the week, I cried all the way home because it was over, and I wanted to go back so bad. So she actually called up and was like, look, I'm really sorry. I wouldn't normally do this, but he just loved it so much. Is there any way you can, do another week? And luckily they said yes. And then from that, it turns out that they used that as a potential audition for me to get into the school.
Yeah.
Then I got to go into the school.
Cool.
I mean, I guess it was just that thing of it just stuck. It was just something that I was always doing. And I think also, there's an old video, a home video that Mom and Dad took because they filmed everything of me doing. I think we were doing like excerpts from Annie Get Your Gun.
Nice.
And we're doing There's No Business Like Show Business.
Yeah.
And we're all in cowboy hats, and I'm just
giving
it, living for my life. And my mom told me that she started crying when she saw that, because she was like, she had never seen me that alive before.
Yeah.
But then she also turned to my dad and said, we're in trouble. We're so screwed.
Yeah.
But I think, so like that was sort of always like around me. But then I saw The Lion King when I was 10.
Oof, yeah.
In Houston. And that, I think, changed everything.
Yeah.
That was, because also that was like one of the first movies that I'd ever seen. And it was a very like special movie between me and my dad that we would watch together a lot. It was, one of those like, you always have those like bonding, things, whether it's a movie or a sport or something that you have with your parents. So for me, and my dad, it was The Lion King. And then when I saw The Lion King on stage, I was just like, well, that was magic.
Right.
What I just saw.
Right.
And I was just like, I need to do that at some point. And then it was kind of a long, slippery slope. We moved to Australia when I was 10. So I was, really flung into, a whole different world, whole different life. And it was kind of, those were like a really kind of hard first 2 years. But then I really found dancing.
Yeah.
And then got really into that. And then decided at about 13 or 14 that I was just, well, maybe 14, 15, that I was like, this is really all I want to do. It was the only thing I ever wanted to get better at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't care about improving as a basketball player.
Sure. Yeah.
Or what of that. But like I cared about being better as a dancer or a better actor or, better singer after that too. So
Yeah.
that was a very long answer.
No, I love it.
I love it. And so then that was kind of like when you started to get serious about dance, what did that really look like for you?
That's also really funny because I started dance like right in Texas. It was like the last 6 months before we moved.
Okay.
Because it's literally the story out of a chorus line. My sister was taking dance.
Yeah.
And we were picking her up and watching her dance, and I was just like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's literally the song. I can do that. That was literally my story.
Oh my gosh.
So I then was just like, that looks really, really cool. So, but I adamantly refused to do ballet. I was just like, I will tap, I will do jazz, I'll do hip hop, but I will not do ballet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Biggest regret.
Yeah.
Totally.
I should have.
Totally.
I should have. But yeah, I just think it was something one thing that I had always noticed also in looking back and was that I would watch these movie musicals and stuff, I was always trying to copy the TV screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was always actually just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And even like there's like another home video of me in like Disneyland for the first time when I'm like 5 years old, and we're watching like one of the live shows there. And I'm not watching the show. I'm trying to keep up with the choreography in the aisle.
Oh my gosh.
Because it just made me want to do it so much.
Yeah.
I was just, and I think it was just that was the thing that was just like, I really care about getting better at it. I really want to be good.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that, you know, when you're on stage, you feel like you can do anything.
Yeah.
You feel like, you know, you can be as outrageous as you want, as crazy as you want, and people will only applaud for it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an amazing feeling. But it also, you know, took time because, you know, you're a young kid, teenager, going through puberty.
Yeah.
You know, you're trying to make friends. You want to be cool. You want to fit in. And, you know, even, you know, still when I was growing up, you know, dancing wasn't cool.
Right.
For a guy.
Right.
So there were a couple of years where I sort of had to kind of lean on the quiet side and didn't talk about it too much.
Yeah.
You know, so I played basketball for some goddamn reason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like just, you know, just to fit in and stuff. But then I was just like, no, this is actually something that I really enjoy. Like I get, and you know, I think also looking back in terms of what it is now is that it was, I think you can always tell it's like, it's the most present you ever will be.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you're not thinking literally about anything else.
Yeah.
You know, because you're literally in the moment trying to perform, you know, nail choreography, make people laugh. Do that. You can't be thinking about what's on your phone.
Right.
Or your homework or whatever.
Right.
Like there's, and I loved it, I think, for that. But I also think before we started all a little bit with like a, you know, hey, look at me, you know, sort of thing.
Totally.
I definitely had a lot of that as a kid too.
Yeah.
But then it kind of, you know, as you get older, it also kind of, your reasons for doing that also grow with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It fleshes out a little bit more.
Yeah,
for
totally.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So what did it look like in you moving to Australia? What was the like, was that because your mom wanted to go home, or was there like
so what had happened was, you know, everybody that knows me knows I've told this story so many times, but it's great telling it. My dad ran the main car business in our town, selling General Motors cars. And in 1998, they underwent a General Motors employee strike and also a flood in like a once in a 100-year flood that essentially decimated the business.
Wow.
So then my mom, you know, became in quite a lot of debt, and my dad was trying to find ways to be able to pay off everything that weren't really working. And then finally he found a job working for the logistics company Halliburton in Iraq.
Whoa.
For the U.S. Army. Wow. So he went to Iraq in November 2003.
Wow.
You know, beginning of the Iraq War.
Wow.
To work because he needed the money.
Yeah.
And he was good at that job. But that meant that he had left, you know, my mom and two young kids in a very small town with, you know, an ailing grandmother with really no other help. And then after 6-7 months, Mom was like, I want to go home.
Wow. Yeah.
I want to be near my father, because all my mom's family is in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So she wanted to be close to her dad, her sister, her family, and just get by, and just help out. So we packed up and moved in August of 2004.
Wow.
And then arrived there, and then in December 2005, Dad finished up in Iraq and then joined us there.
Wow.
Afterwards, but it was a tough couple of years.
Wow,
it was a tough couple of years, because you're 10 years old, and you don't want to leave your friends and everything
your whole
like
world
that.
There,
your whole world, and so I was really mad at my mom for the longest time.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is super unfair now, but and I did tell her, actually, when I was like 19, though, like looking back, though, I said to her, I was like, you moving us to Australia was like the best thing you ever did for us. Like, I could only say it after the fact, but
totally,
it was really, really true.
Hindsight is 20/20, as they say.
Truly.
That's it. It really is. And then, you just try to make a new life. And, it took about 2-3 years for me to feel at home.
Secure.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, being a little kid, it is your whole world is what's directly around you. So the fact of getting picked up and moved to somewhere that feels so unknown.
While your dad is also in the middle of a war zone.
Exactly.
Like it was a lot. And I think also, and my therapist and a lot of other people said, like, I need to give also myself like a lot of sympathy and be just like, you were going through, like, it was a really hard time. You may not have been, totally happy with how, maybe you acted at some point, but it's just like you were 10 years old. You were going through a lot. So, but
absolutely.
Luckily, got the best family ever. So they were, it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. I would say definitely. Yeah. Should we move on to question 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. John, why do you feel like the arts are important?
I
know, very easy question.
Yeah, just a light answer. I mean, have you guys ever seen Dead Poets Society?
It's one of my favorite movies
I'm
ever.
so glad to hear that. Again, people who are listening to me, who know me, will know that I talk ad nauseum about Robin Williams, especially because he's like my ultimate, he's like my hero.
Yeah.
Good hero.
Good hero.
Yeah, very good.
And Dead Poets was one of the most life-changing movies I ever saw. And he says, there's a quote in it where he says that, business, medicine, law, engineering, they're all noble pursuits and all necessary for sustaining life. But beauty, poetry, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for. Mm-hmm. And that's the arts.
Yeah.
It is why we stay alive, why we choose to stay alive. Yeah. Because it is how we make sense of ourselves.
Yeah.
It is how we connect to others. Mm-hmm. It's how we have visceral and emotional experiences that I feel like we otherwise will not allow ourselves to have.
Yeah.
And actually I was doing some reading. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Aristotle. Poetics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because he talks about how humans have a natural urge to imitate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In order to learn.
Right.
And he's saying that is essentially one of the rules why theater, but also why poetry, why works of art are so necessary, is because by imitating life,
right,
by imitating or looking at the world around us, we can then mimic, or maybe not choose to not mimic those actions, and to see, what we would do in those situations, and how, that's. And also, I feel like it is just, I know at least for me, as someone that now is in the arts, it's how people find themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it is literally how people are able to be like, oh, this is my life force, or this is my, like you would with medicine or or maths or science or whatever. But it's like, it's vital because it's a part of our world, and there are people who will be saved by it.
Right.
Even like, I tell a lot of anecdotes, so I apologize if I go on a
you're
tangent.
great.
But the last time I was in New York, I went to Broadway Con.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Isn't it insane?
It was insane.
Yeah.
I had never seen anything like it.
It's crazy.
But what I loved about it was I saw all these school kids.
Yes.
That were dressing up in their favorite, musical costumes, and I was just like, wow. And I thought I was a nerd. But But and at first you have that impulse, but then I was looking at it going, this is literally this one kid that is, probably the outcast in his school gets to come to a place for 2 days where he can be his or her or they's complete and uttermost self, because there is a place for them.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I just think it just nurtures a passion and an enthusiasm that I cannot find in probably almost any other area of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Because and that's why I'm also just drawn to artists and theater, because they are, and especially in New York.
Yeah.
They are so passionate about what they do, and they love what they do. And I want to be around people that love what they do.
Right.
And that's the most inspiring thing.
Yeah.
And when you just see people, I mean, even you could even be that's it too. You could have had a teacher in school where you didn't really love the subject, but their passion for it or their enthusiasm for it still made you love the class.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was a human connection to it.
Right.
And I think that's the sort of same, like when you can be around people who make art with that amount of passion and love and joy and enthusiasm, and I just it takes your breath away.
It really does.
It really does. And so, and also being a teacher, and coming from being the son of a teacher, I'm very pro arts education, and know that it's vital.
Yeah.
And like, you don't know how many kids you're going to save by having it be done and it being around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's there's something about theater, and I found this going into theater in high school. There's something about theater that attracts the quote unquote outsider.
100%.
There's something about theater that just, it's like they're moths to a flame. Like anybody who doesn't have anywhere else to go, they're in theater. They're especially in an educational setting, whether that be middle school, high school,
100%.
even college. Like if you feel at all like an outsider, you find the people who have the same passions or the same drive, or maybe don't make you feel as weird. You were talking about that one kid at Broadway Con,
but don't you also feel like, though, that's kind of it with like any art?
Yes.
Because you look at the world differently than everybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You are not the cookie cutter.
Right.
And so, no, I definitely was the outsider in high school.
Yeah.
And, I was fortunate not to get, I had quite a decent high school experience, and I wasn't, bullied too much for it. But no one got it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one was able to see. And then I went to college and went to drama school, and I was like, these are my people.
Yeah.
But that is when, and I think that's also why the arts are important too, is that it literally is family and community. That is, I think that is a huge reason of why we get into this.
Yeah.
Is because the outsiders are looking for a place to belong.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you got a bunch of people who are all outsiders from their respective towns or communities or schools, they come together and they find each other. I went to college for musical theater, and the friends that I have there are like my chosen family. They are family to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it still like moves me actually how much, like, you know what I mean? Like you think you have those best friends, we're like, we're going to be best friends forever. But then when you think about what kind of incredible friends you have and what they are like, that is a gift.
It totally is.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I love Dead Poet Society too, is because it's a incredible visual representation of what we're just talking about. These guys who, through the guidance of a teacher, start to understand how they can look at the world in a different way.
And have their own voice.
Yeah, have their own voice. And
have their own individual voice in a world that does not want that.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't want them to speak up,
right,
or be themselves,
right.
You know, they got a job to do, they got a path to follow, they have a certain place
to be,
and like that, you know, thing of especially empowering young people to find their voice and to be seen and heard. I mean, that's, I don't know how you could get that without the arts, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. But I mean, I'm sure you guys also felt that way in high school, being like,
100%.
You know, being just, why is everyone acting so weird? Or am I the weird one?
Right.
You know,
right.
You know, because we.
Yeah, I found my friends through choir. I was like a choir.
Right.
I was a choir kid. Like that's what we called ourselves. And yeah, and I didn't really expect that. I don't know. It's funny because then I mean I loved theater, and we had a very like a really great choir program in high school, but not the arts aren't I would say not very well funded in the Northwest, which is kind of, I think, very surprising. I went to school in Texas, college in Texas, and I remember seeing all these high schools, and I was like, gee, the funding for the arts here is awesome. Like, and I was like, this is not what it's like in the Northwest, when like Portland is a very like artsy city, but the arts education is just not, it's not there. Like we were going to, school board meetings asking them to not cut the funding for choir and theater. Like I remember going to those meetings, and it's just kind of like, man, why are students showing up to school board meetings
right, exactly,
asking you to
That's
not
so
cuss their programming?
It's crazy.
But yeah, that's where I found my people, and that's why I showed up to school board meetings, is because I was like, I would not be getting out of bed. It goes back to that quote that you shared from Dead Poets Society, of like, I go to school because I know I'm going to choir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was like my in.
Yeah.
That was my in. And then I started to find that I like enjoyed learning, but that started because of choir.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
You find out who you are by doing these things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I did every school musical. I, you know, did all the school plays.
Yep.
I then actually went back after college, I went back to my high school to like choreograph their school musicals and help like direct them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is it, man.
Yes.
And like when you see, there is nothing quite like seeing like the closing night of a school musical.
Oh my gosh, the rush.
Well, not only the rush, but it's it's kind of, it's right afterwards when you're congratulating everybody and we're like, you did it, and everyone is crying
sobbing.
because they just had the best time of their lives and they don't want it to end. I'm like, that's everything.
It.
That's it. That's everything.
Yeah.
And so like, I just think, and because that was me, like, you know what I mean? And like that was me. And I say to them, you know, these are special times, you know, high school can suck, but like use these moments because you're never going to have them again.
Yeah. I mean, arts education and putting forward motivation in the best ways that we can to be able to promote arts education and be able to build good programs in schools, and especially in areas that don't have as much money, like putting arts education toward those places is just, it's so vital. It's so vital. I work at a coffee shop for my muggle job, and my muggle job. And yesterday I was wearing a shirt that just said Greta Gerwig on it. And and a guy who is one of our regulars, he came in and he was like, I love your shirt. And I was like, oh, thank you. And he works in politics, and he was like, I really want to put forward a bill for arts education. And he was like,
yes.
Yeah. And he was like,
I'm almost choked up. I've never heard of a politician outwardly say that.
Yeah. He was like, wow. Yeah, he was like, I'd love to, you know, talk more about it, or like, do you think that's a good idea? And I was like, yes, I think it's a huge idea. Yeah, because he was talking about all these statistics about people, especially in our city, that has massive, I mean, the socioeconomic range within our city is just absolutely insane.
It's mind-boggling. And I was so shocked when I came, because for my muggle job, I'm a teacher. That's what I do. And I've been substitute teaching a lot around in the city.
Yeah.
And just and I was shocked, especially in New York.
Yeah.
Just the not only the socioeconomic range, but still the segregation range is outrageous.
It's ridiculous.
In New York. And I was like,
what on earth?
Yeah. I was just like, I would have expected this in Texas almost, but I was shocked by that. And especially also how little of them actually had real, top of the notch arts departments at all.
Right.
If they even had the arts in these schools.
Right. Because I think something that's so vital is, like you said, you don't know whose lives you're going to save just by exposing kids to the opportunity to express themselves through art.
Yep.
It's the same thing you were saying, Rach. I go to school because I go to choir.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there are some kids that is the case.
It's the only reason.
That's the only reason they're going to school.
Yep.
And praise God, they're in school.
Stay in school, everybody. Stay in school.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, but that is it. You find out who you are by doing these things.
Yeah.
And I know that was the case with me. And I also, went to dance school outside, and I went to, acting classes, and I had a lot of external stuff as well going on, which all kind of fed it too. But no, it's just it's. We could obviously go on and on.
Maybe we need to do a bonus episode about arts education. I love that.
I think that would be an amazing idea. I think it never gets talked about enough, and it's just so important.
Yeah, I was about to say,
if you do a panel, I'll be here for it.
Yeah, literally,
for real.
Okay. I was about to say, gentle listeners, you guys get involved in your arts school departments, help out as much as you can. A
lot of teachers, I'm just going to put this out here. A lot of teachers have Amazon wish lists, or some kind of hey, I'm doing this GoFundMe if you want to donate to, because teachers don't have enough supplies. So y'all go look at your local, befriend a local teacher and ask if they need anything. If you need, or if you have funds, or if you have, I know I have a friend, or my sister has a friend who was looking to basically find a new home for an upright piano that they had. And I was like, oh my gosh, contact a local school district. Yeah.
Yep.
Because they, oh my gosh, a piano. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
They would snatch that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
so
snatch
just
it up.
Anything, truly.
Yeah,
but anything like that, they need those things.
They do.
Anyway, we should probably move on.
Buy tickets. Buy tickets to go see your school's productions. That's the last thing I'll say about that. Okay, next question.
Okay.
What keeps you grounded as a human, John?
Another really simple question.
Very simple.
I think it would definitely be my family and friends. I've got an incredible mother, a wonderful sister. My dad unfortunately passed away, but he was a massive influence on my life, which probably will be partly in answer to the next question. And I think also just it's just the people around you.
Yeah.
Having good people around you that can be able to bring you down to earth, but then also pick you back up.
Yeah.
To allow you not get too big of a head, but then also just to be like, oh, shut up, you can do it. Come on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta a little bit like that. And I try to talk a lot to my friends back home in Australia. I mean, obviously I'm making wonderful friends in New York as well, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, my friends back home have been incredibly supportive. And I mean, even just to sort of unwind, I think having a sense of humor is really important.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to be repeating myself here a lot, but I'm a big comedy person.
Yeah.
And I watch stand up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just that way for not only for my way to just kind of turn my brain off, but it's just that thing of allowing yourself to just not take yourself and everything, I think, so seriously.
Yeah.
Totally.
If I just think nothing is I just love the quality in a person that is ready and willing to laugh at themselves.
Totally.
You know,
with
and like doesn't care. And like, you know, I mean, we all got our bad days and there are times where we got to, you know, cry and feel our feelings and everything like that. But there's something just really admirable about someone that can laugh at themselves in a loving way.
Right.
You know, not in a way that, you know, self-deprecates or like puts you down. But I think that, and, you know, actually I'm also kind of been, I think it's also, really important to know that you're, you know, a human outside of what you do.
Yeah.
And I actually also kind of really made the conscious effort after I graduated, because I think I went through a time after college where I was like, the theater is my religion.
Yes.
You know, it is my people. It's my everything. Like, I don't need anything else. I'll just have the theater. And I started to, you know, neglect a lot of other things in my life, including, say, like my family, and also actually, funnily enough, my Jewishness.
Yeah.
And it was sort of, I think luckily it was kind of happening a little bit before COVID, but particularly during COVID, I really made the conscious effort to be just like, no, I need to commit to having an identity as well as a family man, like as someone's cousin, you know, nephew, son, brother, you know, uncle, what, you know what I mean? Like to be like, you are those as well.
Right.
Yep.
And then also just be, you know, I'm not kind of really like religious. As we say, we always are like, oh, we're not religious. We're cultural Jews. We're bad Jews, but we're Jews. You know, but we're Jews. But even just ingesting a lot more of like Jewish art and Jewish stories and ways that kind of gets me reconnected to my history. Actually, I find history is actually really grounding.
Yeah.
If you take yourself to like reading about history or going to, you know, museums or whatever. I think also, again, please stop me if I'm rambling, but it's like, I feel like things that keep me really grounded though is when it's not about me.
Oh, that's so good.
I think that my mom, I talk about my mom a lot, but she has really good advice. Anytime I would come to her so super anxious about, you know, a friendship that wasn't, you know, sort of working, or be like, why do these people like me?
Right.
You know, why doesn't this I haven't? She goes, John, what you need to do is do something for somebody else. That will immediately take you outside of your me,
right,
and putting it on other people. And I think that is actually also an amazing way to ground yourself is ask yourself, what can you do for somebody else?
My dad often tells me, like when I was growing up especially, he would say the number one eater of joy is the me monster. And
good one.
Yeah. So lots of times he'd be like, it wells up in all of us, like me. Like it's like, but it wants to eat everything. And so like, I love that your mom said that, like, go and do something nice for somebody else, because that immediately quells the, you know, it stifles the me monster, you know? And so being able to focus on somebody else, is extremely grounding.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's like an actual like psychological grounding technique, is like looking at, you know, it's like taking in the space around you, like thinking about what the texture is about the wall and like what color, like getting the focus off of you is an actual,
and going into the world.
Yes, is an
actually
actual
putting,
grounding
as opposed
technique.
to actually being in here, but being like, okay, what's actually out there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Good. Okay, now I'm really excited to hear your answer for these next two.
Okay.
So what person, place, or experience has shaped you the most creatively? Can also leave out the creatively the part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think just in general, my mom and dad.
Yeah.
What I'm really grateful for is that, and especially I've been told this by other people that know both me and know them, is that they've instilled in me a sort of freak of nature work ethic that sometimes can be my kind of undoing.
Sure.
You know, your greatest strength can also be your greatest weakness.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
But the way, and to do everything with, you know, just 100% commitment and passion and enthusiasm. That is never, that can't be understated how much that has meant to me and to where I am in my life. But, you know, if you're lucky, you get incredible teachers. And the dance teacher that I had from when I was 12 years onwards, no joke. This is her. Well, this is her stage name, but her name was Rini Ann Martini.
No, it was not.
It was. It is. She's still teaching.
Wow.
Back in Melbourne.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah, that was her stage name, and she was a very old school teacher. You know, she came from that tough dance school mentality, but when you did what she said, she worshipped you.
Yeah,
and she believed in every single one of her students, and she taught me how to act when I danced.
Cool.
Love that.
It wasn't just about technique and hitting good stuff. It's like, you better use your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Show that there's a person underneath. And I mean, like, you would go to see her concerts and there are 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds just
giving. Yeah.
all face.
Yeah.
Barely any technique, but all face.
Oh my gosh.
And what she did for me in terms of just to get me to be the dancer that I am, it was huge. I also owe a lot to, it was a wonderful man, rest in peace. He's no longer with us either, but his name's Charles Slooky. And he was an old family friend of my mom that was a drama teacher.
Wow.
And a drama coach. And he was sort of like my mentor. And he helped, me with my acting in high school and helped me, do my audition monologues for college and everything like that. And he was kind of my first real acting mentor, and pretty much kind of took actually a lot of like the mystique about acting away, that it was like, it wasn't necessarily all ethereal. Like it's actually very
practical.
It's logical and it's thinking and it's and he introduced me to really good writing and really good pieces, material. And so I really owed him. And then just, I mean, the theater, man, just seeing as much theater as you can. Those shows, seeing The Lion King when I was 9. Seeing a chorus line when I was 18.
Yeah. Wow.
Also just was like, that is why. That's exactly why I do this. I could go on, but those people especially.
It's so good.
I love that. Yeah. There is something, just like thinking about watching you dance in particular, John, because I met you through Grace Copeland.
Yes, friend of the podcast.
Friend of the podcast.
Yes, friend of the podcast.
The famous Grace Copeland.
Yes.
We love Grace.
And I remember, she had, I think, sent me your Instagram profile or something like that. But she was like, hey, I can't remember what we were talking about. We were talking about dancers, and she was like, have you met John Reed? And I was like, no. And she sent me, I think, your dance reel. And I was like, this is the kind of dance, like it's very like, you give off such like Gene Kelly, like just like Fred Astaire kind of like, just that classic, what everybody falls in love with dance from like the get-go. And it's just all over, like it's just, I love that you were talking about your teachers, because it's like,
well, that came from her.
Right. Like the joy is all over your face.
The joy is that because she gave us those people. She told us to go watch Gene Kelly, and we were doing dances to Singing in the Rain and Birth of the Blues. And you know what I mean? All of these, they lived that era, and Sammy Davis Jr. and Sinatra and all of these people that just had, it was full of such just unbridled joy.
Right.
And no more, no less.
Just joy.
Just joy. And that's very sweet that you say that. I definitely live in that world a lot, and I love it.
Fun.
I love it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's just the best.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You want to do the last question?
Okay.
All you, Rach, all you.
Okay.
Ooh.
Well, I kind of wonder if like you've mentioned one of these.
Probably.
But, what book, play, or film do you think every person should read or watch?
Okay, this was super hard, so I'm going to rattle off like a few to just save time.
Love it.
Perfect.
Obviously, we said Dead Poet Society. It goes without saying. You got to see it. There's an incredible book called Educated.
Yes.
By Tara Westover. Have you read that?
No, but I
know exactly what you're talking about.
It is extraordinary. You must read it. It is not an arts book or anything like that. It is just the most incredible memoir of just an incredible against the odds type of story that you have no idea like this could even happen. Yeah. And yet she, like, where she comes from to what she ends up achieving. It was the most, I've never been so gripped by a memoir before. Yeah. I'd also really recommend Cast by Isabel Wilkerson.
Okay.
The Origins of Our Discontent.
Yeah.
That was an extraordinary read.
Yeah.
In terms of plays, I mean, this is, everyone will know that, this is my favorite musical, but the musical Parade, I think must be seen and heard by everybody.
Oof, yes.
Absolutely everybody. And Angels in America.
Oof.
After seeing that play, I was just like, this is probably the best play I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of, movie, probably Dead Poets Society. And if you want to see, a master actor at work, I just actually watched it the other day with my roommate because he had never seen it. And it's a hard watch, so you got to be in the mood for it. But There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes.
Daniel Day-Lewis I will
His
never
performance.
not get sick of watching that movie.
Yeah.
It's I can't recommend if you're like an actor wanting to just see the best that do the best.
Yeah.
So those are my really quick. I just had to get all those out.
No, hey, listen, that is a good list.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I quick thing about Angels in America.
Please tell me.
I had never really experienced Angels in America before. I read it in school.
Oh, you
because
did?
we had to. It was
Wow,
on our
in
like
school?
recorder.
Or in college?
For college.
College, okay.
Yeah. For my BFA.
I was just like, I was just thinking, you read that in high school?
No.
That is a heavy one.
No, not that one.
not in high school. In college.
Yeah.
But when they put it out on the National Theater at home, I watched it over COVID.
Yeah.
And I finished part 1 and went immediately to part 2. I was like, I have to know,
Gotta know
what's
what happens.
going on.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And Andrew Garfield's performance is like,
Mind blowing.
But
Nathan Lane is Roy Cohn.
Yeah.
Is Roy Cohn. He's actually also someone that's another massive hero of mine.
Oh.
Is Nathan Lane. I've seen him 3 times on Broadway.
Yeah.
gift.
No one comes near him
Yeah.
when he's on stage.
Yeah.
It's like everybody is incredible on stage, but he's at another level every single time.
Oh my gosh.
A total star.
And
total star.
I finished the play, watching it, and I just had to sit for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I remember closing my computer and being like, I just need to sit here for a split second. And it's pieces like that that grip you so hard that you have no choice but to just be for a second that are the ones that like completely stick out of my mind. And I felt that way after seeing the revival of Parade.
Oh, me too.
And so they're
that's art though. That's why the arts matter, is to have moments like that.
Yeah.
Is when it hits that hard and that well.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I saw Angels in America in a small black box type theater in Melbourne. It was like a professional production, but it was really, it was not
tight.
big. It was tight. It was small. It was intimate, and not big production value, not everything like that. But my mother and I, we were gripped from the beginning to the end. Because the material was that good and the actors were that good. You didn't need anything else. I mean, I love the National Theater production, don't get me wrong, but just seeing that piece, I was just like, I think this is probably the best play I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's insane.
Oh, and everybody should watch Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But watch it. Don't read it. Watch it.
Watch
Agreed.
it. Yeah,
It is meant to be watched.
It is meant to be watched.
I love reading Shakespeare, but it is meant to be watched.
It is meant to be watched.
You can't make somebody fall in love with Shakespeare by having them read it.
Nope. Especially those that aren't familiar with it, you have to see it, and you have to see it done well.
Yes.
I would also say that's another recommendation, is that give Shakespeare a try.
Yeah, give him a shot. Give him a shot.
My first experience with Shakespeare was seeing a high school production of Midsummer Night's Dream. And let me tell you, I did not fall in love with Shakespeare that day. I fell asleep during Shakespeare that day.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
John,
yes.
You're like, I feel like you're constantly working on short films, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's actually how I met Grace.
Yeah.
And how I got introduced to all of you guys I commissioned a dance film from her, and then she was like, "Do you want to be friends?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I do."
Yeah, I do.
So I'm trying to definitely make a lot more of my own work, keeping up, having a very kind of proactive artistic career. So yeah, and I love making dance narratives. That's like one of my favorite is like, dance storytelling. So hopefully I'm going to be working on one this month.
Yay.
Fingers crossed. It's pretty much all ready to go. I just the dance is all ready to go. I just got to see if we can schedule it to shoot it.
Yeah, totally.
So where can people just keep up with what you're doing? Okay.
So I'm only really on Instagram.
Perfect.
At JD Reed with 3 E's because the one with 2 E's were taken.
Hilarious.
So I had to be, so it's at JDREEED. Reed.
Yeah.
Love that. Love
And
that.
and then my website is www.johnreedactor.com.
Yes. Okay, sweet.
Love
so
that.
everybody go give John a follow. It is a joy to follow John's career. And yeah. Thank you so much for
Oh my
coming
God,
on
this
the
was
podcast.
this was amazing. Thank you.
This was such a great conversation. And
Yeah.
I'm really excited for people to hear this one.
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys, thanks so much, John. We really appreciate you.
Oh my God, thank you.
We love you.
Guys. This
Thanks
was
for being
beautiful.
our friend.
Love you. Thank you.
You guys, we hope that this was inspiring to you. And hey, go make art. Go make something. Go get involved in arts education. And we'll see you out there.
Thanks for listening to the For the Makers podcast. To find out more about Seated Productions, you can visit our website at www.seatedproductions.com and follow us on Instagram at seated.productions. And if you love what we do and want to support us, you can make a tax-deductible donation by visiting our website or by following the link in our podcast description. Until next time, listen well and tell stories.